Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Three Live Canes. As always, I'm Chris. That's Bill. Here to talk to you guys about another week of Miami Hurricanes football. Not great, Bill. Not great. Not where you want to be, considering where we were just mere weeks ago. Now we're pretty much in the opposite position, as you guys can see. The playoff dreams dim up in the title. That's pretty much where we're sitting right now, as we're trying to figure out what's going on. Before we get to all that, Bill, how are we doing this week?
Not great, Bob. Yeah, all too familiar feeling of disappointment, frustration, regret for buying into the dream that was the Miami Hurricanes. Everything we hinted at, talked about, complained about, all season, finally bit us in the ass and essentially eliminated from ACC championship contention and a long shot to make the playoffs after yesterday's rankings, which were absolutely wild. But I'm not even going to complain about that because it's not going to matter because this team is not winning out.
Yeah, like I did see some hope that was strewn about a little bit out there, and realistically, I mean, what are you hoping for? What are you hoping for at this point? The expectation that Miami can pull off the miracle and win their last 4 games in a row after what we've seen in the past over the course of the last 3 weeks is very minimal. Very, very minimal. So we'll talk about that. Talk about some it's pretty much just that. Pretty much just that over the course of the next little bit here. Probably going to be a full hour-long show. Not feeling great, so we're going to cut it off a little quicker than usual. So not that, again, much to talk about. But we love Canes.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska.
He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Irvin's got it. Irvin's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.
Hard dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. Husker up to the races. That's what they needed.
That's Ricks going up for Thorpe, and it's intercepted near midfield. Sean Taylor's got another one.
Who else?
Who else but us should have talked to you about Miami Hurricanes football, and in a week when hopes all but diminished, all but gone for Miami to make the playoff. If you thought this was the season, like we all did, and very optimistically and very loudly proclaimed it so, ended up here. And like if the program right now were embodied as a human being, it would feel kind of like I do right now. Sick, kind of gross, confused, and trying to wonder what's next. But Bill, just right off the top, general thoughts here about where we stand.
Everything. There's just so much. We'll start with the penalties that have actually gotten worse. Since last couple of weeks we're talking about we're in the 120s, now we're in the 130s. You're not gonna win games like that. Just for a program or coaching staff that prides itself on being disciplined and hard nosed, it's the exact opposite. When it comes to the penalties and I've read different versions kind of this take, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. Switching gears to the offenses, it doesn't seem like the offense is primary goal is to score points. It seems like the offense's primary goal is to be physical, control the game, and pretty much shorten the game, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do when in ACC, when you are the more talented team. That's why we're in dogfights week in, week out. They went our way in the beginning of the year, right? Notre Dame, Florida to a certain extent. Florida State crawled back into it after we went conservative. We lost Louisville. Stanford was 7-7 at the half, and then again it bit us with SMU. So, in a game that you needed to win, it certainly didn't appear that the urgency was there for that one. Just, too many mistakes. I think there's an identity crisis going on, and we need to figure out what we're going to be. If this is it, right, we're just going to try and just run up the middle and say, we're going to do this. You try and stop us. If you can stop us, you're going to win because we keep making mistakes. We're never going to get over that hump to where we want to go. We'll be an 8 to 10 win team every year, miss the playoffs, not play for ACC championships. Well, what do you got?
Yeah, I think what you said, it kind of encapsulates it, right? That it feels like we're playing an arrogant game without any actual knowledge of how to win these things, or desire to put over the top. Like, it doesn't make any sense that like 3 weeks, like last year, we saw how the season ended, and it was like, is this really happening? And then this year, it's the same conversation. It's the exact same conversation. Now we're 3 games in a row deep into this thing where the offense, we've made the same complaints, same confusion, heard the same excuses, and been like, guys, it's not working. It's not working. This is not a healthy program right now in terms of what we're putting out there on the field. And it's just like, you watch it and then it's like the same thing. It's frustrating that we are where we are after weeks of looking like this team was legit, and there being a fear that we could drop these ACC games, like the mid-level ACC teams. Came out here and honestly got punched in the face multiple times by these teams. And in winnable games, we showed no urgency to win the game. Right? Very winnable games. When it came down to it, the game-winning plays were just absolutely left out on the field. Like, nah, don't have it. I'm not going to make the play. I don't know about that guy. He's not going to make the play. And here we are. Here we are. We talked at one point about we could have 3 top 10, top 15 picks on this roster. And this, but obviously not. One of them is way off of there. But, like, where are all our dudes? Where are those guys? Quiet.
And that's even something that really hasn't been talked about that much, is because there's just so much more blatant I guess missteps, if you want to call it. Just even if you just eliminate the pre-snap penalties, right? You can like pass interference, a face mask, guys are trying to make plays. Just the basic, knowing the snap count, it's not a loud stadium by any stretch. Even if you just eliminate those, you probably are going to be successful. You probably beat Louisville. You probably beat SMU. And it's painful to watch. The offense is just slow, plodding, predictable. I'm a nobody, and if I'm sitting on my couch calling out the plays with a very good hit rate, I would assume someone making $3 million to defend it is probably doing the same thing. How many times have we run into like a 10 or 11 man box? And that's the stubbornness. That's the lack of, I think, just awareness. Teams have figured it out, right? Florida State. So go back to Florida State. They figured it out, right? They kind of bottled up that run game. Louisville, did the same. Or for an offensive line that's supposed to be one of the nation's best, and we are pass protecting, right? I don't think that's for debate. We don't run the ball very well. And I don't know, that's not a talent issue up front, right? You have a potential first round pick, most likely first round pick, a bunch of veteran guys. It's just really hard to watch the same thing over and over with very few wrinkles. And I think as we progress, after Pitt, we'll probably talk about what needs to change. But I think you just need to either just cut Dawson loose and just say, it's your offense, run it, try and score as many points as you can your way, or bring somebody else in that will do that. But you just can't, your first priority can't be to be physical or to shorten the game, control the game. You need to score points, especially when you're the better team. It's just hard to watch. Even our best player, right? We have Malachi Tony, who's one of the best receivers in the country. You have one of the best pass blocking units up front. You have a 6-year quarterback. You have a guy in CJ Daniels, and then I know he's hurt, but then you have JoJo Trader too, and you have guys all that's a recipe for a very good offense. But we're not there because we insist on playing a certain way and trying to impose a will that is actually very easy to defend. Once kind of the cat's out of the bag after the first month of the season, where teams are like, okay, that's what they're going to do every time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Florida State DC, like, did he come out after the game and say we knew exactly what they were going to do? Like, did he come out and say that? Like, we knew what exactly was going to happen, and they just couldn't stop it at times, right? Like, but he said that. We laughed him off, laughed him out of here. Like, oh, yeah, he stopped. Couldn't you do what was going to happen? What happened? And then everybody else was like, no, he was right. He was right. We knew exactly what they were going to do. And I've often kind of pushed back on Mario has too much influence on the offense. It's too much, blah, blah, blah. But, when you see it now and you're like, is this Dawson? Is it Mario? Is it what is this? What is this offense? What are we trying to accomplish? Like, you appreciate, number one, how good Cam Ward was, that he could overcome all of that, all of whatever this is, but also realize that it is, it's so questionable that you wonder about everybody in the building. Like, who's pulling the strings on it? Who is the final say? Who is the one that gets the blame for all of it? Because you could potentially fix the Dawson issue with, let him go, bring somebody else in. But I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a quote from Dawson, but I heard someone say he said it. But basically, the gist of it was, last year we knew the defense was terrible, so we knew we had to score 40 points a game. And guess what? They went out and scored 40 points a game. Right? That should be the mentality, right? It seems like we're just trying to get to 27, and we can't get there. But it seems like that's the goal, right? Eat up as much clock, try and get, score a touchdown here or there, rely on the defense. That's such a, 1993 style of play. And quite frankly, you don't have the talent advantage to be able to do that, right? You need old 2019 or 2021 Georgia, where you're just rolling in top 2 classes year in, year out. Then you can play that boring kind of style and it'll work out more often than not. But I think there's going to be, or there needs to be, some kind of soul searching as to what we need to do to get over that hump, and to kind of tweak our identity, right? I don't think you don't need to burn the whole house down and, start from scratch, but you need to kind of figure out, how do we just get both sides of the ball right? And that's been the fatal flaw of this program for 20 plus years now, right? Going back to Golden, the defense was broken, but the offense was pretty good. Richt, the defense was pretty good. Offense, not there. Manny, defense, fell apart. The only difference with Mario, right? The defense was terrible last year. Now the offense is terrible. The only difference is, and this is to his credit, is we've upgraded the talent, right? So instead of going, 7-5, 8-4, now we're going to be in that 9-10 range, just based off of pure talent. Some of those coin flip games are going to go our way because we have better dudes. But you just can't do this week in, week out, playing coin flip games, because eventually it's going to land the other way multiple times. And being in the ACC, you get one oopsie. We use it against Louisville. We knew we were in winner, essentially go home mode. And then you lay an egg against SMU.
It's rough. It's almost Oh, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating when you're at this point, like you're X far deep with the new program, the new coach, and blah blah blah. You get to a point where like, okay, we turn the corner and it's gonna be what's gonna be, but then you realize like in a season when there doesn't seem to be a lot of separating at the top, where it feels like everyone's a little bit closer than they've been in the past, right? Everyone's a little closer, like in that battle for a national championship, which is based upon what we've seen, the perfect opportunity for Miami to step up and be one of those teams. Like there were times, obviously, that was all smoke and mirrors, but when they were like, maybe Miami's the best team in the country, and then you go out there and you play games like this, where it's like, if you would have told me that the team that we saw was a 7-5 football team, like I would have been like, yeah, it looked kind of like a 7-5 football team. Team that doesn't know how to win, right? If you'd have said that this is one of those 7-5 years, 6-6 years, yeah, they look like that. A team that can score occasionally, but ultimately has no concept of what they're doing. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've talked about the penalties. There was multiple drops too. That's kind of another layer that probably wasn't talked about just because the other parts were so ugly. But again, I agree. If you just put that SMU game on, like, hey, what do you think Miami's record is? Probably around 500. You can't really do much on offense. Your offense is pretty much hope Tony makes some kind of crazy play, or the coverage busts, and you get a cheap one. But yeah, you can't run consistently. You're no longer picking up those 3rd and 4th and shorts because you're doing the same thing every time. I think it was that last 4th and 1. It was an 11-man box. It was one of the most insane things I've seen. And if you would have just called something not up the middle, play action to the flat, a jet sweep, you score a touchdown. The game's over. Everyone's happy. We're probably ranked 7th or 8th right now, in the playoff rankings. But no, it's the same thing. We're going to do this because this is who we are, and that's how it's going to be. And then a team that's not even SMU, they're well coached. Rhett Lashley does a great job, but I don't even know if there's any NFL type guys on that roster. And you with the heart and the crown jewel of what you're supposed to be, the offensive line can't get a yard, can't get 1 yard when you need it the absolute most. Your season is pretty much hanging in the balance. Tough.
I think that's really encapsulates everything, right? That of all the things you should be able to do is to move people with your O-line and get a yard. Like that's one thing that, okay, when all else is Carson Beck, the guy, maybe not. Do we have the skill, talent? Maybe not. Can we rely on our defense? Maybe not. But at least we have an offensive line that can get us a yard when we need it. And
And it's not even really on them, right? Yeah, there's issues, but the root cause is that the other team knows exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. And that's really hard to continue to be successful doing that. Teams catch up. They know how to counter it. The best teams, and I think Cristobal can probably call like a Nick Saban, right? You saw him kind of adjust his offensive philosophy, throughout their dynasty run, where they were that 3 yards cloud of dust. We're just gonna, bludgeon you, with our big backs and our big offensive line. And they fully embrace that. Hey, we can get the best athletes, and we can just try and score a bunch of points. And that's the way the game went. And we're unfortunately about a decade behind yet again. Defense fine. They have some issues. They're not perfect, but they've given us every chance to win, right? I don't think we've given up even 30 points all year. As I'm looking at the score sheet here, the most we've given up was 26.
Gary Furman.
More than 26 points. So that defense is doing its job.
Gary Furman, who now is a magician, allegedly, believes we're making the playoffs. Turn up the vibes. The vibes will be up when the bludgeoning ceases.
And it'll make for bad shows going forward. But I refuse to even acknowledge what needs to happen for us to have a chance at making the playoffs until we go 4-0 and beat Pitt. Then I will jump on the table and I will go crazy about the whole Notre Dame and Texas ranking ahead of us and all that. But the committee pretty much said, screw you. We know you're going to lose again. We're not even going to waste our time. Should they do that? No. But they're pretty much betting that we're going to drop another game at some point. It could be this week. It could be 3 weeks at Pitt.
Yeah. They've said before that it's up to them. It's like they talk about where you are right now. That's always the vibe, like where you are right now. Or what team is going to come into those playoff games ready to play, right? That's what screwed over Florida State a couple years back. That's what they'll decide upon. And right now, there's no logical reason why you'd think Miami could get the job done in a playoff setting, right? I don't understand why you'd even consider it. Like, unless you lost your guy, your quarterback's supposed to be playing at a Heisman-ish level. He's not. So you lost that aspect of it. Supposed to have the best offensive line in the country. Right now, they're not. So, in all of that, the brand is up. I mean, usually, right now, the brand is hurting. So,
what's ironic is the way we approach these mid-level ACC teams is the exact way you would want to approach the playoffs, right? You have to go to Oregon or to Indiana of all places. Run the ball, shorten the game, make it a one possession and hope it bounces your way. That's a totally logical playoff type approach. But November 1st against an overmatched SMU team, not so much. And then we have Syracuse coming up. We have a bunch of guys out. How does Syracuse is terrible. They don't have their quarterback. But how do we respond? Do we loosen up and just kind of just hit the ground running and play, or do we continue to play a super tight type of game where mistakes happen, get frustrated, things spiral, can't get back on our feet?
I would assume. I mean, just how we played Stanford, like how we played Stanford football the other day. 2 weeks ago, and like what amounted to a dogfight for a majority of that game. Like I feel like that. Yeah, could we wipe these people out? Could we wipe out? Like, yeah, maybe, but like we're talking about a team that we were 7-7, like 7-7 dogfight at halftime against Stanford. So like that, all hope of just blowing Syracuse the doors off Syracuse kind of went away in my head. Like when that happened, where we were struggling, like traded blows with Stanford at halftime. Yeah, 42-7 all day long, sure, but trading blows with Stanford. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the worst, P4 teams. Syracuse is probably right on that level. Especially without Angeli, who probably would have thrown for 3 touchdowns against us. But Fran Brown's going to have that team ready, right? They're going to know how to stop half-back dive. We'll do score predictions probably in a little bit here, but
not much longer.
Yeah, it's just things are looking very bland. But if you go out and you kind of change your approach a little bit, you kind of control and dominate that game for 60 minutes, get the confidence back. Then you still have 3 games left to do it. It's just not. It doesn't feel good now. Things can change quickly. Even look at Florida State. They sucked for a month. They won 1 game against Wake Forest, and they're all cheery and happy now. So maybe we can do that too.
Yeah, maybe.
I see Furman's comment too, but Beck really didn't play bad. He actually was pretty good. The first interception wasn't his fault. The overtime interception, I guess you can make a case, but he was throwing some pretty good balls, right? We converted some 3rd and longs, and probably would have had much better stats if the people could catch the ball. So was he the problem? No, it just looks that way because of that last pass, which you can't make regardless. But he's a pro. He's not. He wasn't the problem. It's just the overall philosophy. He's just a symptom of the problem.
He's like, I always looked at him as especially when you watch him every snap, he's a rhythm guy, and I don't think the offense has found any sort of rhythm for quite a while. So you're asking this dude, get into rhythm, start hitting some of these balls, and then the offense sputters, we commit penalties, and then it's okay, 3rd and 55. It's what I don't know, what you expect quarterback to do in some of those scenarios. He's not a great player, but he doesn't need to be a great player to get the job done and to do what we need done. But when everything around him is also sputtering on every step, then then he has to be a great player. Yeah, someone like Cam Ward who, no rhythm involved, he could make greatness out of absolute garbage. He can turn it into gold. Beck doesn't have that ability, but he shouldn't need to. He should be able to just do the base level and get this team wins over Louisville and SMU. But everything around him is garbage. It's not going to happen.
He has all day to throw, but when you're, we did use a little bit more tempo. But our typical offense, we're snapping the ball with 5 seconds left on the play clock. That's for a rhythm guy. You pick it up, right? Your defense can get stops. I know you probably scarred from last year. You want to kind of protect the defense. Don't want to have too many extra possessions, but when you're the more talented team, you want that, right?
Yeah, you want to get the ball back.
It's worth maybe going 3 and out an extra once or twice if it means an extra 10 to 14 points. So is it going to change? I highly doubt it. This year, what's it, a 3:30 kick on Saturday? I fully expect it to be just more of the same, and we'll pull it out probably because we're that much more talented. But I'm looking more at NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt as those potential L's.
Yeah, no, sure. All right, let's just do the prediction stuff. What the hell? Do you have the numbers for last week, Bill?
Yep. Not good from really anybody. I'm not even going to play dramatics. Steve-O was last. B-Harp was third. I was second. You were first, missing by 12 points.
Oh.
So, crazy predictions. Fletcher 100, and then the other two backs with 75 and 50 respectively. I'm not going to look at the stats, but I know that did not happen. Steve-O had Josh Moore with a tutty. That did not happen. I had 2 turnovers from former Canes on SMU. Did we even have a turnover at all?
I don't think so. I can't think of one on the top of my head.
Yeah. I know there was one where Brinson bobbled the ball and almost gave it away. I would have counted that, but no, we didn't intercept it. And then Melissa had Malley with a punt return touchdown, which he would have if again someone made it a key block. which our guy Lance Roffers pointed out a couple times. So basically just a big shit sandwich last weekend. We all took a bite of it.
We're working as a team.
All right, I'll go first for Syracuse. 25-22 Miami.
I'll go.
The spread is something outrageous too, but we know that doesn't matter.
No.
So start throwing your predictions in the
21-13. We'll get Steve-O's from him at some point. So yeah, if you want to jump in, feel free.
There's probably 4 people watching right now.
Yeah, I was
so
we might just go CFK fan for double up because he already put his stuff in there.
So we'll go CF Kane fan because why not?
Everybody else is smashing their face against their keyboard. It's hard to write eloquently when you're smashing your face.
Crazy predictions.
I'm also going to go CF Kane fans on this one because it is a funny one too.
Will we get 2? Maybe we get 2. Yes, AJ. I don't know if you've watched every other game we've played, but every game is close.
Yeah, it's not great. Not a great dude. Crazy prediction. One of our running backs averages more than 4 yards a carry.
Should we just do it as a team?
Yeah, team over 4 yards a carry.
Team for carry. I will go. I already used this one, but I kind of want to use it again because I think it might hit. We'll have 3 or less penalties.
Wow. The anti-CFK fan.
63-0 sounds like a wild prediction. I see JoJo, two tutties. That's about it in terms of crazy predictions, unless my chat's just behind.
I don't know. I'm looking to see how many games this year we averaged more than 4 yards a carry. 1, 2, 3. 3 times. We've averaged more than 4 yards a carry 3 times.
Can I guess? Bethune, USF, and Florida?
Bethune, USF, and Stanford. Florida was 4 right on the dot, and SMU was 4 right on the dot. Louisville, 2.6.
Oof. Ooh, I kind of like that. The Glenn Mess crazy prediction: 5 tutties for Beck, no picks.
That would be something.
We might not score 5 touchdowns the rest of the year.
Got 2 TDs.
All right, I'll make the executive decision. 5 tutties for Beck.
Okay.
0 INT, and that was Glenn.
I think Mark gets out of his own way. He has to. I mean, it's not even like a job on the line thing. It's like he just has to.
That's like it's just wild like that. You need your head coach to remove himself from the entire on-field operation.
Yeah.
The spread was high. Yeah, it was. I thought it was up there. It was close to 27, 28.
Oh, damn. That would be. I would be stunned. I would be stunned. Okay, we'd have to win that mug 29-0.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we did pull it out against Stanford with the garbage time touchdown. But other than that, Did we cover? Did we? No, we didn't cover against FSU. I think that was like 6.5 ish. No, we covered UF. We covered USF. We covered Notre Dame because we were underdog. So we're actually not terrible against the spread this year. Just losing as a double-digit favorites. That's kind of where it gets us.
Yeah. Not great. Not great, Bill.
No.
Anyway, that'll do it for us. Sorry if you guys expected sunshines and rainbows today, but not going to give it to you. Refuse to give it to, especially without Steve-O here. This is really our time to shine with negativity. But we'll see what happens over the course of the last couple weeks here. It really boils down to, hopefully, on this Glenn Bess pick comment real quick. I do think there have been times when we have been like actively trying not to go and do something that could risk Beck. I do feel like that has been in the mix. Based upon some of our play calling, I would agree.
Look at the end of the game. You have 30 seconds left with the timeout. You take a knee. One, if you're scared, right, that Beck's going to throw an interception or whatever, do something else. Just run. Do an end around to Molly. Do a halfback screen or something. Just something to see if you can generate enough yards to make it worth taking that risk. But to have the ball with timeout and time to run, five plays, maybe even 6. That's that was way too conservative. You want to run a conservative play call. At least you're putting the ball in play, and you never know what could happen. Right. Even if you want to run halfback dive with Lyle, at least maybe he can take it to the house because he's done it before. But if you're not confident in your 6-year quarterback who's being protected by one of the better pass blocking units in the country, you got nothing.
I do honestly wonder sometimes, like, what goes through Mario's head when he does hear all the Mendoza talk. And like, I don't think we've been crazy about the Mendoza talk, because Beck has been fine enough. But like, he's a dude, like all these Columbus people involved in the program. Like, it's basically Columbus High College edition. And from donors and coaches and this and that. And then there's a kid from Columbus who nearly beat you last year at Cal, who was in the portal, and you didn't take him. And now he's leading an undefeated team, could win the Heisman Trophy, and the team's going to be like 1 or 2 seed for the playoff. And like, there are times where I wonder, like, just how, even if nobody's talking about it, how Mario like envisions that whole scenario. Like
the one, I guess, caveat to the Mendoza talk, or really any other quarterback, but look at the situation that Mendoza's in, right? He's probably being coached by probably the best pure coach in college football. And they play aggressive, right? They go out and they try and, punch you in the mouth, kick you in the balls, and then step on your throat. Like, that is their philosophy. They don't go into a shell. They don't try and bleed the clock. They just go out and play, right? And that's their identity. So I think if you kind of swapped, you put Beck there, Mendoza here, I don't know if the results would be all that much different, to be honest.
Fair. Very fair. Very fair. And to end off, Drive for Life, Carson Beck or Brock Berlin. I picked Brock with way more regularity in these than I think any other Miami fan would. Like, I'll go Brock Berlin almost universally. There's like 8, maybe 6 names that I'm like, no, none of them. Like, but otherwise it's gonna be Brock the heavy majority of the time.
As long as he's in shotgun and we're running a little tempo,
shotgun tempo, we're winning that much.
Doubt about it.
We're closing that thing out. But all right, we're gonna get out of here. But Bill, final thoughts for the people.
I mean, I think we're gonna at least find out a lot about this program, and if we quit, you see teams all over the country that fired their coaches, but they haven't quit. I think it would be really a really bad sign if the season just collapses, right? Mathematically, you still got a shot at ACC. If you go 10-2, you can really make a good case for the playoff. I don't know if it'll happen. We'll talk about that bias from the committee at a date to be determined, but there's still a lot to play for. This was a bad loss, bad week, but you do get a chance to reset and kind of try and turn that narrative around. So it's kind of wait and see. We'll know a lot by about 7:00 Saturday night.
For sure. If we're alive or super dead, could easily be super dead by that point. So that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. Never an easy one when we're in this situation. We've been in many of them over the past couple of years, so this is nothing new to us. So I appreciate you guys tuning in to watch the show. Hopefully, got better stuff to talk about in the near future. Less dreariness now that Halloween is over and the scary times are hopefully done. But as we do a basketball show, no, we just keep doing these football shows. It's just football.
That's Pete's area.
Yeah. There's a couple good like Melissa, I know her thing that she was doing on basketball over there too. So we just football, which is why we're so sad all the time. So that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for watching the show. We will see you guys again next week right here. Have a good week.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska.